Well, it's good to get out underway. This first acclimation period is still just that, getting used to pads and on-field practices, and different than our training program. So involves a lot more, communication, play calling, adjustments, things like that, as opposed to just running training conditioning like we've been doing up until this week. So long way to go, but good to be underway. Weather's been very cool. Need some heat. Need some hopefully training weather. Hopefully that'll be coming soon. I've heard a lot about this hot North Carolina weather. Still waiting to see it. But as far as players go, again, a lot of new faces, a lot of evaluation, just trying to figure out who can do what and how we can, get our best players on the field and help them. Whether they're new here as freshmen or they're new as transfers, talking to them about the things that our fundamentals, our calls, our adjustments, things like that are different from what they've done in the past. So making progress, just taking it one day at a time, and grinding it out here through training camp, which is what we need to do. This is what we need, just day after day of just good fundamentals, and just try to keep moving ahead in the right direction.
Andrew Jones, Tar Heel 24/7. There's a lot of new faces up front defensively. Only two guys, really back from last year, only one of them played a couple of snaps. What have you seen from that group, and what is the competition like for all the jockeying to see who can kind of get first, depth chart, first team, second team, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think whether it's that position or any other position, the depth chart's really a work in progress. Again, we're in the acclimation period. Of course, we're trying to evaluate, but we're not really able to do full practices and tackling and all that. We're still acclimating. So we're not far from that, but the teaching and the big part is so everybody knows what to do, they know how to do it, and they're ready to go out there and compete. And when the competition starts later in the week and next week, then those things will start to shape up, especially at that position. The receivers and the DBs, where there's less contact involved, maybe a little more competitive there in terms of who can get open, who can cover, and so forth. But for the big guys, those skills will really be evaluated much more closely once we're actually able to do them, and also make sure that everybody knows what they're doing.
On that, obviously you guys are going to hit soon. What about DeAndre Robinson? What are you guys seeing from him? What did you like about him that you brought him in? And is he somebody that has an opportunity to get on the field a lot this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd say everybody has an opportunity, but he certainly would be, up on that list. Played some last year at Florida, athlete kid, smart, has good football instincts, and again, it's just acclimating to a new system, some new terminology and adjustments, things like that. But I'm sure he'll be very competitive with that group, and we have other players there too. The best guys will play, but he should be very competitive in that group. He's a big guy that can run. He's young. There's a lot of room for growth and improvement. So I'm glad we have him. Good to be working with him.
Right here, front center.
Rod Baxley, Fayetteville Observer. Bill, how do you describe the impact Moses Cabrera has had on your career, and how that's translated to here at Carolina with these guys?
Yeah, Moses had a huge impact on my career and on the teams that I've coached, where he's been the head strength coach. He's done a great job of training players and also getting them back on the field after they've had some type of medical setback. He's worked with several thousand players and is able to train them regardless of what limitations they might have. He has multiple ways to do different exercises and so forth. So we're able to train all parts of the body, and he's increased speed, strength, explosiveness, as well as I think this team has started to develop good chemistry, and a lot of that comes from the weight room and from their training together, where you start to earn the respect of your teammates through hard work together, and that's brought the team. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but certainly moving in the right direction in terms of team chemistry and developing a closeness and respect for each other. So everybody's out there working hard. They're going through it, grinding through it together. And they're, the guys who are maybe further along are helping some of the guys that might lag behind a little bit, and that's good for, again, teamwork and and bringing the team forward.
Brian Murphy with WRL. Your dad was a coach, you're a coach, obviously your two sons are on the staff. Was there ever a thought that they would do something different than coach? And how did they get into it? And then, obviously Steve, we're going to get a chance to talk to him later today. What has, about his development as a defensive coach, has given you the trust that he can run this defense?
Right. Well, so I think you'd have to ask them about what their other maybe aspirations were outside of football. But both of them, kind of like me, but really both of them have been in pro football literally their whole lives. From when they were 11, 12, 13, they would, hang around and do things, and then eventually were like ball boys, and then would break down film, and then would, help do different things for whether it was Josh McDaniels or Matt Patricia or Brian Flores, people like that. And then they eventually, Stephen before Brian, but were quality control type coaches on the staff, and then worked their way up. So that's something that I never tried to push them into. It's something that they wanted to do, but they've been around it their whole lives. Stephen sat in on captains meetings every week, and Brian would sit in on the quarterback meetings and things like that. So it wasn't just the team; it was also, some of the interactions that you have with different groups of players, and the feedback that would come from those players, not just coaching, but also players giving feedback, to the coach. So. I learned a lot from being around my dad. A lot of it was just from like osmosis. It's not like instruction. You just live it, and you hear things, and you start to put it together, and things like that, so forth. And I'm sure some of that was true for them. But when in 2000, at the end of the 1819, in there 1920. And so forth, is when Stephen took a bigger role and then started calling the defenses, and I think it was 20. I've had a lot of confidence in him doing that. I think he's done a great job of preparing the defenses, and then also having a good feel for play calling and when to call things. It's not just what the defense is; it's kind of the timing of when to call it, how to set things up, and things like that. He does a real good job of taking input from, as Brian does, take input from the players. If they're not confident in it and they're not comfortable in it, then we probably don't want to run it. Let's find something else that we all feel, good about, and work to get the things we don't feel good about right before we actually run them. So, I think he's very in tune to what the players are comfortable with, and how they can manipulate and control the scheme or adjustments within the scheme that we have. And that's a skill, one that comes with experience, but I think that's something that I learned a lot at New York from Coach Parcells when I became the defensive coordinator, is understanding what the players can do and how confident they are in doing it. And those things usually work out a lot better than some brainstorm that you as a coach have that they don't either fully understand or buy into. Even though it might look good on paper, if they don't like to do it or don't feel confident doing it, then it doesn't usually work out so well.
Hi, Bill. Ashley Rowe with WRAL. We know that the NFL is such a business. How did the business side of the league help better prepare you for the evolving business landscape of college football with NIL and revenue share?
Yeah, very much. We dealt with it literally every year since whenever 93 or whenever free agency started. So called the last 30 years. When Mike and I were together in Cleveland was when free agency started. And, Reggie White and guys like that, and then it's just continued through there. So dealing with the revenue share, the NIL packages, agents, if you will, or representatives for players, all those kind of things. That's the life we've lived. So we're very comfortable with that. We don't have an unlimited amount of money, which we didn't have in the NFL either, and so you have to figure out how to distribute it and how to, I won't say negotiate, but let's say negotiate and also manage the assets and the resources that you have, which are good here at Carolina, but again, they're not, it's not like we have a a blank checkbook, nor does any other team. So management of the team, the players, the salaries or the payments that they get and so forth are, again, something that we've dealt with for a long time. And you have to value certain players in certain positions in order to afford to put together a good team.
Follow up on that, how much of your day is spent working on those dollars and cents and figuring out those numbers?
Yeah, not too much of my day, probably most of Mike's day. We've talked about it in general terms of how we want to do things, but really Mike handles the day-to-day application of those. And again, because there isn't a strict reporting process like there is in the NFL, where literally every day, every contract gets reported, it gets adjusted, and being in compliance with the cap and so forth and so on. It's much more. There's a lot more, I would say, detail and transactional. Here, you can do it. There's no, you just have to do it. There's no, set. There's obviously a revenue share limit, but there's different ways to handle the money and the payments and so forth, where it's not quite as structured as what it was in the NFL. And so Mike's very good at that in terms of being creative and trying to work out something that works for us and works for the student athlete as well. So he's done a great job of handling that. And of course, when you deal in this type of world, you have other agents and representatives trying to do the best for the players, and you have to kind of figure out what you're comfortable with. And at some point, if players offered more somewhere else, do you want to be in that market, or do you want to let that market go and take a player from the market that you want to be in? Those type of things. Mike really does most of that.